Hello and welcome to Smash Hits Sports, the best college basketball podcast on the internet. And Nick, it's March, baby. It's
Oh,
March.
it's March.
Can you feel
We
it in the
made it.
air?
Oh, I can feel it.
Oh,
Oh,
did,
I'm having.
John Rothstein came and visited me. He came down my chimney.
Yeah, did you leave out cookies, milk and cookies
Yeah, I
for
left out
Rothstein?
cookies. He left me a bunch of brackets. It was incredible. I'm
It
so
was sick,
excited.
dude. He wrapped some brackets up for me and some highlights of like the 2011 tournament. It was sick. Um,
Yeah.
this is the last week of the regular season. Like we made it, and
Yep.
conference play is starting. This is a great overlap because you get probably the best week-long slate of games in your Power Six conferences. Out of all of conference play, but you also get to throw in some high stakes games in, the Atlantic Sun is going on right now. We have Kennesaw State down 6 to Jacksonville in a win or go home
Yep.
game. It's just what it is. It's great. Queens is up on Florida Gulf Coast right now. Duke beating NC State. Obviously, we don't do Monday games on this pod, but awesome slate. All I really have to say, Cody, is that everything you think you know, you got to throw it out the window. Like if this is your first year following college basketball intently, you might think you have everything, it takes to succeed. You're like, I actually know which teams are good, which teams are playing well right now. I have it all. I have all the information. You don't. You do not. Nothing you know is going to help you. That's just the beauty of March Madness is we follow all this stuff, and then it just becomes a battle of will. It's like you're just throwing out blanks and shooting for the moon, trying to predict the bracket, and we're going to see that in these mid-major tournament predictions that we're going to talk about pretty soon.
Yeah, and there's like thinking of like things you know and things you don't know. Even this last week, like we called Kansas frauds a month ago, and then they came roaring back, and now they look just as fraudulent again. Like everything that we've seen in college basketball this year has really been, and I don't want to this has been a phenomenal year of college basketball because I feel like every couple of years, like we'll have years where like there's one or two dominant teams, like the Gonzaga Baylor year. Like we kind of felt that was coming. Like those were the best two teams all year. They showed it this year outside of the top three, which have all shown weaknesses. Like any team in the top 10 to 15 right now, like I could see holding a banner, and that's just absolutely insane.
It's so hard though, right? Because like the old close your eyes test where you just try to envision them cutting down the nets. There are so many teams that don't pass that test for me, but I have to just not use that test at all because I truly think we might see something crazy where a team that I genuinely cannot see doing it actually does it. I don't know. Normally, I really abide by that rule, but this year just might be an exception because, again, on a neutral court, anything can happen, right? We're seeing that.
Yep.
It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win on a neutral court. It's easy to win at home this year, especially. And no, you're not going to get a home game in the tournament. It's just how it is. So, nuts.
Yeah. Going to the other end of the bracket, right? The top teams are kind of figuring itself out, but the bubble. Does anybody want to be in as an 11, 12 seed? Because holy shit,
no,
dude.
Literally, it's nuts.
Cody. It's insane.
Just last week we went through the bubble, and I think out of the 15 teams we talked about, like 10 of them lost at one point last week. It's just absolutely bonkers. And like you said, right, these higher seeds are figuring it out. I will say it's March 4th right now. Selection Sunday is 13 days away. We are pretty much going to see like what you would have as a bracketology right now is probably going to be pretty correct. You're not going to see teams falling 3 seed lines like an 8 seed. If you're an 8 seed, you're a lock pretty much. A catastrophe would have to occur. So for the most part, it's lock, then your 9 seeds maybe, and then the bubble is 10, 11, and all the teams on the outside. So we've really narrowed down the teams that are still fighting, but the teams that are still fighting, Cody, just keep looking, and they keep looking awful when they play as well. When you look at a team like Virginia, who should be a lock, but the eye test, They not only do they not
Oh,
pass the eye test, like if
oh,
I was doing a CPI bracketology, they wouldn't pass the freaking eye test. They are
yeah.
playing so awful, but they still have a resume that might get them in. So it's really tricky. My question really is this the weakest bubble we've ever seen? Like it's tough.
Yeah, I because it's compelling. Like there are some teams on that bubble. Like I think Villanova has worked their way into the right side of the bubble. Like
Yeah,
there are some teams in that bubble area that like are fun teams to watch. But like
Villanova can be.
I don't think
They
they're
can be.
good. I
They can
don't
be
think they're
fun.
good.
They can also
I
be
think
brutal.
this may be last year we had just a ridiculous Final Four. I think it was like the highest combined seed Final Four of all time. I think this year, like, I don't know how many teams 9 and down that I really see could winning like into the second weekend.
This is my
It's
other thing,
very
Cody, is
few, and
that
most of them are going to win their conference.
like last year, I do think that 5 teams that made the Final Four, all 5 of them were kind of underseeded. When you look back at it, like even you look
Yeah,
back at their resume before the tournament, and there was a massive argument, especially for FAU, because they had
FAU.
30
Yeah,
wins and a decent non-conference schedule. So it's like, what are we throwing them on the 9 line for? I was very surprised when that happened. I thought they were 7 or 8, and then they make the Final Four. So it's like they were never on the bubble. I don't know if they got the automatic qualifier. I don't remember, but they were never on the bubble. So I do think that last year there weren't really any 11 seeds, 10 seeds, 9 seeds that I was confident in at all, really. The year before, you had what? That was UNC as an 8 seed made it in St. Peter's, but we still didn't have those like 11s.
mm-hmm.
But my thing is like there have been teams like VCU in 2011 that made the Final Four. Very strong team that was a true bubble team at this point, and they make the Final Four from the playing game. UCLA did it in 2021,
Yep.
as a playing game, and they beat Michigan State, and that's a Michigan State team that I thought was very dangerous as well in the playing game. You saw Loyola Chicago as an 11 seed. Like there have been years where these 11 seeds look like they could actually go far in the tournament. I'm not sure last year had it, and I don't know if this year has it either, because I look at a team like Providence without Bryce Hopkins. Virginia, again, does not scream any chance of success there. Wake Forest can't win away from home. Do we
Yep.
like Colorado? No. Do we like, you know what I mean? Like Ole Miss? No, I don't like them. So it's tough. It's tough right now on the bubble. I think it's a little bit of a weak bubble, but we'll see, because maybe
Yep.
we'll get like a Michigan State on the 11 line, if and then that's a
Yeah.
team that it's Izzo in March. Like anything can happen. Maybe I'll eat my words if that happens, but as of right now, I do feel pretty confident that any of these bubble teams, I don't like them making like large runs in the tournament.
Yep. Speaking of road teams, your team didn't happen to play a game on the road this week, did they?
Yeah, this was this was the podcast rivalry week. We didn't touch on it.
Oh shit!
I didn't get to catch.
We
the game.
we didn't
I didn't see
preview
what
it at
happened.
all, which bad on us. We should have, but
I didn't even consider it. I was like, I know we got Notre Dame this week, but like I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But yeah,
yeah.
podcast rivalry week, and we only played once this year, so you officially own the college basketball rivalry, and I
Well,
got football.
so here's the deal: we're 1-1. Baseball's going to decide it.
Baseball's going to decide it.
That's just how it
Yeah.
is. Baseball is going to decide it.
This
The sport that I'm going to be honest, I watch a little bit of college baseball. I don't watch a lot of college baseball, so this will be good.
No, I don't watch. I mean, I'm not watching during March. I'll tell you that much. My priorities are straight. I'm not insane. We'll have to see after the Final Four if I tune into some college baseball. I know Clemson's ranked pretty high, but yeah, I'll congratulate you on your win. I honestly was extremely upset when we lost that game. I thought
I could tell by your text.
Quad 3 loss. Yeah, I did text you like I'm going to go drink a lot, which I did. But I thought it was going to be a quad 3 loss. I looked at it when I got home from the bars, and I was like, oh, wait, this is just a quad 2 road loss. It doesn't impact, like, it's not a bad loss according to the net. And we only dropped 3 spots in the net. So I was like, oh, I'm going to move Clemson to a 7 seed. I actually just dropped them down in the 5 seed line and kept them as a 5, which I was surprised. But that's just how it worked out.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the Wildcats before we get into our mid-major madness. Kentucky. I don't get it. I thought that they were going to be a Final Four team when they were humming. I thought this team was a Final Four team, and then they lost 3 consecutive games at home, and I thought this is toast. Cal's blowing it. This is ridiculous. What do you make of this Kentucky squad? Like, do you have faith in them at all? Or
now they're playing good ball, but the problem is I'm not well adjusted to watching a college basketball team look like an NBA team when they play. Like, I'm just not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to take away from it. I'll hop on TikTok Live. People ask me about Kentucky. I'm like, I genuinely can't even answer. Like, I don't feel confident. It's the team I feel the least confident about by far. And the Arkansas game is part of the reason why, because they end up putting up 111, but they allow 102. So straight up an NBA score. And at one point in that game, with like 6 minutes left, maybe they were down 84-75. And I'm thinking to myself, at home, you're going to let this Arkansas team come in and beat you by double digits at home? And you're like hot right now. You just beat Mississippi State and Alabama. Like, what is going on? And you can look bad against LSU, who's not a good team. You probably should have won that game, but still, you can play great defense against Auburn, held them to 59, but then you let up 100 in 2 games out of 3. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what to do. I'm probably going to have like a panic episode when the bracket comes out, and they're whatever seed they are, probably a 4 seed right now. I'm going to be looking at that 13 saying, I think that 13 can win. I really do. But I also think Kentucky can win it all. So it's like,
yep.
What am I going to do? They're bothering me a lot. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I would love to know, and I tried to do a quick Google there while you were talking, but it didn't come up with any results. When was the last time a college basketball team scored 100 points 6 times in a season? I would love to know that, because that's how many times Kentucky has done it this year. They've put up 100 points 6 times. That's absolutely insane. They've also like allowed 100 points 1, 2, twice. So they've allowed 100 points twice, and they've scored 100 points 6 times. They allowed 100 to Arkansas, and they allowed 103 to Tennessee. I truly, this might be the biggest, like, turn all the offensive sliders all the way up, turn all the defensive sliders all the way down for both teams in any matchup that they play. I'll never understand it. Mississippi State, a team that's been very heavy on the defense all year, they score 89 and let up 91.
And let up 91. Exactly. Like, my curiosity, Cody, is what would a Kentucky versus Houston game look like, or Kentucky Iowa State? You know what I mean?
A Kentucky Houston matchup would be phenomenal.
It would feed families, I'll tell you that much. Because in the non-conference, they had UNC before UNC figured it out a little bit defensively. They had Miami, who's not good defensively. They had Kansas, who is not necessarily known for their defense this year per se. Mm-hmm. They haven't played anyone this year besides, like, Tennessee has a pretty good defense, but they haven't really played like this juggernaut Houston type of defense that's just blitzing you and just athletic as hell. And I'm so curious to see what would happen. And I also will answer your question, because Kentucky obviously has scored 106 times. Alabama has actually done it 9 times this year, which is nuts. But yeah, they put up 109 times. They're number 1 offensive efficiency on KenPom. Like, they are. That's just an offensive juggernaut. They're basically Kentucky, but Kentucky's just playing Alabama basketball better now, and Alabama's now playing like the old Kentucky. I don't know. But yeah, as far as letting up 100 and scoring 100, I doubt that has happened that much. I think a lot of the teams in the past score 100, they let up like 80 or something, but Kentucky's letting up 100 as well. So I think they're probably the first team maybe ever to do what they're doing in that sense. And a lot of these 100-point games have come recently, so it's a trend to look out for. But
I'm absolutely excited for the end of the SEC schedule this week, because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we have a crazy schedule. Last thing, Cody, I do want to flex really quick, because I know last episode I said lock of the month, which is not a term I throw around lightly. I'm not Big Cat, right? I'm not having 5 lock of the years per year. Lock of the month is a lock of the month. And this is March. So I've used up my lock of the month for March. Gonzaga to beat St. Mary's on the road.
Yep.
And it happened. I think I said by 15. It happened by 13. Nailed it. Victory lap. I was so confident in that.
That was a game that was never at any point out of Gonzaga's control. Like the entire duration of that game, they had the pacing, they had the control Gonzaga, on both sides, rebounding. Yeah.
Watch out for Gonzaga. That's all I got to say. Watch out for Gonzaga. We'll see what seed they get, but my God, they could be Final Four bound at this point. They're playing that well.
Yep.
But that's all. Overall, like last week was great. You guys probably watched it. We'll move on to a segment that I'll let you introduce here, Cody.
Yep. Let's get into the mid-major madness. And mid-major conference tournaments are starting this week. All the power conference tournaments start next week. So we'll preview the SEC and the Big 10 and the Big 12 and all that stuff next week. This week, we're going to spend some time on the little guys, and absolutely deservingly so. We have, how many conferences did I throw up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I
11,
threw
12,
in a couple 13, that tip off next week, just because if we're doing mid-majors, some mid-majors do tip off next week, but we're going to just do pretty much as many of the mid-majors that are kind of up in the air as we can here. How many is it?
It's 20. So we're going to go through here.
We have
there's
20
going to be
written
some
down? Oh my God.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. I love it.
Yeah. So we're going to go through these. Now, is every single one of these going to have an absolutely immense level of detail? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It won't. Okay. So there are some where
I was going to say, did you like study up? Because I don't know.
No, a lot of these teams, I'm going to be very honest. A lot of these teams I put to win their conference because they won me a lot of bets. It's as simple as that. Haven't watched a ton of them, but they've won me some bets. So I'm going to ride with that. That being said,
it's the not having ESPN Plus problem here for me, where I do not have the luxury of being able to watch these teams play. Some games are on CBS Sports Network, like the Coastal Athletic, but in general, I will try to give as much thought as I can. I'm sure you will as well, but we're not going to be, we're not Ryan Hammer, not yet at least.
Yeah.
He can give you the starting five of the 6th seed in the American or the Atlantic Sun. I don't know who the 6th seed is in the Atlantic Sun. So.
Yep. All right. Let's start with the American East. I'm gonna be very straightforward. I think Vermont has won this conference 3 or 4 straight years. It seems like
they've got a little chokehold on it. Yeah.
Yeah. They seem like a tournament staple. I want to pick them every year to upset. I think I've picked them probably 3 of the last 4 years in the tournament. And guess what?
Oh God.
They lose every goddamn time.
It hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened.
15 a lot of the time. So that's bold.
Yep. I think they were 12 seed last year or something like that, but
I don't know if they. I think they were 15 playing Marquette. Actually, I feel confident in that. But I think this year they could actually get up to a 14 seed because teams, like Eastern Washington, a couple teams are dropping from that 14 seed line. My thing is in the American East, I was pretty high on UMass Lowell. I thought that was the team that was going to dethrone the Vermont dynasty in the American East.
Mm-hmm.
And then they played on Saturday, and Vermont kind of shit kicked them. And I had to eat, all my words and just bury my love for UMass Lowell. Not saying it can't happen, but if I were to be realistic, I would have to pick Vermont because they are playing better basketball than anyone else in that conference. And I think there's only one team that could dethrone them. So we're both going Vermont. And that tournament kicks off on March 9th. So Saturday, I believe.
Yep. Is that Saturday? Yes, it is. All right. Keeping it moving. The Atlantic Sun. Lipscomb has won me a lot of bets, and that is the only reason that I am picking Lipscomb. They are not the 1 seed in their conference, but hey, you can't go with the top dog every time. So I'm riding with Lipscomb here. This tournament actually starts today. So
it's on right now.
It's on right now as we record. By the time you're listening to this, I could already be wrong. So
I don't think they're playing right now. But
yeah.
I'm going with the top dog in this conference with Eastern Kentucky. This is where I have no thoughts. I haven't gambled on the Atlantic Sun at all. I do not know anything about this conference in the slightest. I know Florida Gulf Coast beat FAU, but it looks like they're going to lose to Queens. So we could see some chaos here. I'm going Eastern Kentucky. But I think the winner of this conference is pretty much locked in to be a 16 seed this year. So
Yep.
Not that electric. Don't lose sleep over missing the ASUN games.
Yep. Keeping it moving to the Big Sky Conference. I've watched a couple of these games. Montana's a pretty fun team. What I will say is I think Weber State is one of these teams. Like, they're 11-6 in conference. They're 20-10 on the year. All three of the teams at the top of the Big Sky are 20-10. So, like, it's a very, very even conference at the top. Eastern Washington's 14-3. I'm sure you'll talk about them, but I'm going to roll with Weber State. Just a little gut feeling. I know they've done well for me on the spread, so that's what
I can talk a little bit about Weber State because I have watched them, and I know they have Dylan Jones, I believe his name is, who is probably far and away the best player in the Big Sky and probably a top 5 mid-major player in the country. He's great. I would love to see him transfer to a Power 5 program. He might go to the draft, honestly, but he's a name to watch out for because if Weber State does make the tournament, you're probably going to be hearing from, Seth Davis on Selection Sunday, like, watch out for Dylan Jones. But I do think that Eastern Washington has the better roster all around. So I'm going with Eastern Washington. Again, Eastern Washington's kind of a team that finds they're a good program. They find their way into the tournament more years than not. At least it feels that way. Dating back to like 2014, it just feels like they're always in contention for the Big Sky. So I think there's something to be said about having a confidence in a conference like this. And I'll probably talk about that confidence level a little bit later on because some of these teams just, if you've been there, you're going to feel like you can get there again more than some other teams. So going Eastern Washington.
And Eastern Washington, one of the better teams in the country against the spread, 17-10-1. Keeping it moving to the CAA. I'm riding with Charleston.
We got the Big South next.
Oh, the Big South. Duh. Yeah,
can't skip the Big South.
Big South. High Point has been awesome this year in the Big South. They've been a phenomenal team. Against the spread in conference play, they haven't been phenomenal. They've been 8-8, little up and down. They're dominant at home. They're 15-1 at home, one of the best home teams in the country. That being said, I'm riding with them. They are 7-5 on the road, so they can win away, even though most of their games have come at home. But yeah, I'm riding with High Point.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with UNC Asheville. And, off the bat, I'm going to go back to the confidence thing because UNC Asheville is the team, that won this tournament last year. They also beat High Point at home, lost by 5 to High Point on the road in a pretty close game. They have a win by 13 over App State, who is probably would be seated higher than UNC Asheville. Wins over Western Kentucky, Wofford, like some obviously not fantastic teams, but I do think that if they split the series with High Point in the regular season on a neutral court, I think it's a toss-up if those teams end up playing in the championship. So I'll just lean towards UNC Asheville here because they've been there before.
That's totally fair points. The CAA, I have Charleston. I jumped the gun on this one a little bit, but they're 10-2 on the road, and that is a big reason why I'm picking them. They've been a really, really solid team. They're 24-7.
They're playing really well right now too.
Yeah, they're playing good ball.
What's their win streak at? They've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in a row. Cody, 8 in a row.
Yep,
for Charleston.
And you want to be playing your best ball heading into March. Now, their last loss is to UNC Wilmington.
Their last loss is UNC Wilmington at home. UNC Wilmington beat Charleston on the road.
That's their last two losses, actually. They lost to UNC Wilmington their last two losses.
Yeah, I'm going UNC Wilmington here. Worst conference record and playing not as great down the stretch. They struggled with Towson, a team that Charleston just blew out. But I think there's something to be said about UNC Wilmington when they face Charleston. I think they're going to believe that they can beat Charleston. They've done it both times this year. They also beat Kentucky, which we talked about Kentucky being anemic, but they beat Kentucky. They have really sticky hands. They are athletic. They kind of speed around, really quick on defense, force a lot of turnovers. So Charleston, I think, is a slower paced team. It's kind of a meeting of polar opposites. And I think UNC Wilmington just matches up well against Charleston. So assuming that's the championship, which I would assume it is, I would go UNC Wilmington.
Totally fair. Conference USA. We both picked teams here, and I thought it was interesting. Liberty at one point, weren't they ranked?
Yeah, I think they were like 6-0 at the beginning of the year, so they might have hopped in.
I thought they snuck into the top 25, which is crazy.
I think you might be right. Because now they're 6-8 in conference play.
Yeah, and neither of us picked them. I went with Western Kentucky here. I'm going to be honest. I don't feel phenomenal about it. They do have wins against Louisiana Tech on the road at Louisiana Tech, which is 90% of the reason why I picked them to win this game. However, they've lost their last 3, so I don't feel awesome about it. This Conference USA was a tough conference. This is not a good basketball conference this year.
I mean, I think Louisiana Tech's actually a pretty good team. And Sam Houston State's playing well at the right time. And I don't hate your Western Kentucky pick. I don't think they're bad. If it comes down to, like, if Western Kentucky was in the tournament, like the big dance, there's not a shot that I consider them. They might be a 16 seed type vibe. But Louisiana Tech, I'd be looking at that as like, whoa, could we see something crazy? They could be a 14, maybe even a 13. They're a pretty good team. I hope they make it out. You never know, but I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech out of the CUSA.
Yep. The Horizon League. I've watched some Horizon League games this year. Watched
really?
Purdue Fort Wayne.
Detroit
I actually went to
IUPUI.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was must-watch television.
No, I actually went to Purdue Fort Wayne, Kentucky, in Fort Wayne, which they play in the Fort Wayne Coliseum, which is a lot of fun. That being said, this conference kind of stinks. I'm going Youngstown State just because they've been good against the spread, and the Penguins are rocking. I expect whoever wins this conference to be maybe a 14 seed, but I don't.
I think if Oakland wins this conference, that's my pick. I think Oakland would have a real shot being a 14. I do not think Youngstown State would be a 14. I think they'd be a 15. Yeah. I mean, it depends. If, like, the 5 seed in all these conference tournaments win and Youngstown State wins, then it's different. But Oakland they have a road win against Xavier. People are going to get mad that I said Xavier, not Xavier, but I do not care. They kept it close with Ohio State on the road and Illinois on the road, and Drake for that matter. Like, they've played a decent schedule. They're battle tested, and they're at the top of the conference. I haven't watched them play per se, but I have bet on them, and it's been fruitful. So I think it should be Oakland. I feel like it should be Oakland, but again, you never know. But that we get to see the Horizon tournament kick off tomorrow, so we will see pretty soon.
Yep, a tournament that kicks off later next week, but
really late. It's the latest. It kicks
Is it the
off
latest
Saturday
start
before Selection Sunday?
Wow, that's actually insane.
They
just do top 4
teams are eligible to make it, right?
Damn.
And the Ivy.
That makes sense. They don't want to interrupt.
Or maybe even 2. It might be 2 teams. They might just do a chance. It's weird. The Ivy's weird. It's either 4 or 2. I don't remember, but we're both going Princeton.
Yeah.
If you
Far
have
above the best
thoughts
team in
on
the
it,
conference.
be my guest. But I like Princeton a lot.
They've been the best team in the conference. They knocked off Arizona last year. They've been to the dance before.
They're 23-3. Yeah. They're really, really good.
Yep. Moving on to the MACtion. I'm surprised you don't have Akron here. I think Akron's been like the best team pretty consistently this year in the MAC. But
I agree. I think Akron is the best team in the MAC, but I'm doing something crazy and going with Toledo because Toledo. I watched a little bit of Toledo App State. It was a couple weeks ago. I don't remember what day, but it was both. I think it was like double overtime, maybe even triple overtime. Crazy game. I think it was at App State, maybe neutral court, but I was impressed with what I saw from Toledo, and then I looked into it, and like Toledo lost to Akron on the road, but I believe they beat Akron at home. I don't know. Yeah, they beat Akron at home on like February 19th. So I don't know. I think if anyone's going to dethrone Akron, I think Toledo has a pretty good chance at it. They are 12-4 in the MAC,
mm-hmm.
And 18-11 overall. So they could easily do it. I do think they could easily do it. They both have the same away record, so I think it's closer in the MAC than people think. But really, just between those two teams.
Fair. Moving on to the Metro, I'm going to be honest. I don't know shit about any of these teams, so I went with Quinnipiac. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, there's St. Peter's had an okay year in the Metro. Maybe they can sneak into a 16 and play Purdue again. That would be awesome. Little storyline, the New Jersey schools with Purdue. But that's all I really have. Thought-wise, Iona is Farley Dickinson's head coach. Went to Iona. They had a bad year. But, yeah, Quinnipiac's my pick as well. I know nothing about it.
Yep. Keeping it on, moving on to maybe the best mid-major conference in basketball this year in terms of just the quality of games, the quality of players, like the excitement that we've seen. Drake has been an unbelievably exciting team to watch. Indiana State has been an unbelievably exciting team to watch. I do think that there is a world where if Drake wins this conference, Indiana State gets an at-large bid.
Yeah, we could see a 2-bid Missouri Valley. It depends what you define as a mid-major, because like if the A10 is a mid-major, if the Mountain West is a mid-major, I don't know. I don't think they are. I really don't, but it just depends on your definition. But I will say Arch Madness is up there every year with the best conference tournaments. You get to see some crazy stuff. Again, this is a conference that used to have, Wichita State, Loyola Chicago was in here for a little bit, I think. Northern Iowa's had some really cool, good teams in the past. Creighton, I think, used to be a Missouri Valley team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's always been
Murray State.
High end. Murray State, right? Yeah. It's always been high end, and this year is not different. So I hope we see an Indiana State Drake final, because that would be appointment television.
Yes.
But if we don't, it's because it's Arch Madness and chaos ensues. But I am actually going Drake here. Because I think those teams are literally pretty much even, and Drake made it last year. So again, I'm going with the confidence thing.
Yep. I'm going with Indiana State, purely based off of one, I have to, it's in Indiana. Two, the vibes. Robbie Avila I've heard Larry Nerd. I've heard Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Larry Nerd.
It just
Larry Nerd.
Absolutely unbelievable nicknames. If he makes it to the dance, what these announcers are going to say with him is going to be top tier. It's A+ content. Which, did you see the home field release today?
Yes, I put it on my story right before we got on, because he modeled for the.
They did like the old school warm up shooter jerseys. Like the old school warm-up shooter jerseys.
Robbie Avila fan, yeah, go get this. Go check out the links in our bio. Go buy it.
Yeah. Use code Nick15 at checkout. Get 15% off your first purchase at home field.
Absolutely.
We'll throw your code on the podcast, Nick.
Just for today, we'll do it.
Yeah,
I can throw yours out.
Yeah, but hey, Nicky Deals out here just wheeling and dealing.
Brand deals, folks. We're getting some brand deals.
It's good for the boys. You crossed 20,000 followers on TikTok too. Big dubs. Big
What,
dubs.
you or me?
You did.
I did. Yes, that is true. So big dubs there. We're inching towards 22K. Can we get to 69K? That's the dream. And Cody, you're right there behind me. 69K.
Race to 69.
Come on, baby.
All right, moving on to the Northeast. I'm going to be honest. Have watched very little of this league. The only team that I have watched is Merrimack, so I'm going with Merrimack.
Good on you for watching even anyone.
It was one game. It was one game, but I watched it. So.
I'm actually gonna toss you a plot twist here. But if I'm going on like according to my bracketology that I put out today, it would be Central Connecticut State. And I feel like I'm just going to ride with that because that's the most letters you could possibly have. Central Connecticut State University is like 45 letters that you like. Imagine trying to throw that up on the CBS broadcast. It'd be electric. So go CCSU.
I love the vibes on that.
Yep.
The OVC, I'm going to be honest, the Ohio Valley, not super thrilling this year. A lot of the teams that like, I don't know why UT Martin, like nobody excites me. Morehead State is who I'm going with. They are 23-8, 14-1 at home. They're a solid team. So if I had to pick a team to come out of the OVC, I'm going with Morehead State.
Yeah. If I were to pick a team not named Morehead State to do it, I think I would go with Little Rock. But in general, I don't feel very confident about this conference. I haven't watched a lot of it. I know nothing. And it's a pretty jumbled top four right now. So I'm going to go Morehead State as well. They've been in all of my bracketologies as the AQ from the Ohio Valley. So I'm not going to change it up now without a basis or reasoning to do that. So same page.
Yep. The Patriot League, we're both going with the toothpaste here. Colgate.
Talk about a stranglehold on like a dynasty, right? Like Colgate has a dynasty in the Patriot League.
The amount of like consecutive tournament appearances that they've had is absolutely insane. I saw a graphic. It was like consecutive tournament appearances, and it's all the big names that you would expect: Kansas, Michigan State, teams like that. And Colgate was on the graphic, and I was just like, excuse me?
I think
there's no way they were getting an at-large bid. They're just winning their conference.
Yeah, I don't know how many years it could be, but you know that American has never done it, or like hasn't done it in our lifetime probably. Boston University, I don't think has done it. Navy, Army, Loyola, Maryland, I don't like Lafayette. I don't think they've done it. Lehigh did it with CJ McCollum in 2012. Yeah. So that's at least minimum. I don't know if they were even in the Patriot then. Holy Cross, I don't know. I doubt they've done it. And then Bucknell, for some reason, Bucknell, it feels like they've been in the tournament in my lifetime. I don't know if that's true. But overall, yeah, Colgate is just a shoo-in. They're also 16-2 in conference, and the next best conference record is 10-8. And there are like five teams of 10-8. So this dynasty just persists. It's the AFC East of college basketball.
Yep. It's good. That's a good analogy. Keeping it moving to Southern. I'm going to go out on a limb here a little bit. I'm going with Western Carolina. This is a team that doesn't have a phenomenal conference record. They're 11-7, but they're 22-9 overall, and they're 10-6 on the road. I think they are a little more tested than some of these other teams. Like that, I don't like Wofford or Furman this year, which are teams that have poked their head up into the tournament before. So I'm going with Western Carolina here.
This is an underrated conference. I think if I had to rank like the top 10 conferences in college basketball, the Southern Conference would maybe be that like 10 spot. They might sneak into the top 10. And it's not because they like win tournament games all the time. We saw Furman do it last year. We've seen Wofford do it. Chattanooga should have done it against Illinois 2 years ago. They lost by one. They were winning for 50 or 39 minutes, like 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
But this year, Samford, I think, has Team of Destiny vibes because every time I see them on Twitter or on SportsCenter or anything, it's like SVP bad beats. it's Samford pulling off some sort of miracle, where it just like on the road or at home, they're just pulling wins out of their ass to a 26-5 overall record, which is nuts, right? Like that
And
is
18-0 at home. One of the
18 and 0
few
at home.
remaining undefeated home teams in college
Yep,
basketball.
they're much higher in the net than anyone else in this conference. They feel like they should be the pick here, but again, I like a lot of these teams. I think you can even go down to Furman and say that Furman could technically do it. I think there are 6 teams in this conference that could win the conference tournament, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be fun to watch. And that tournament kicks off on the 8th. Keeping it moving to the Southland Conference. The easy answer for the Southland Conference is McNeese. And Will Wade has done a phenomenal job there. They're 15-1 in conference. They're 26-3 overall. They have one of the best records in college basketball. Another team, one of the few remaining undefeated home teams. McNeese is undefeated at home. They're 15-0. I think, and they're playing right now, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. It took everything in me not to pick Texas A&M Corpus Christi to win this conference as an upset pick. I love this Texas A&M Corpus Christi team. Unfortunately, I don't think we are going to get to see them in the big dance. I think we are going to see McNeese just better coached. I mean, they're rolling right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you have Will Wade, who has taken LSU to a 3 seed in the tournament, which is not something that LSU is used to at all. That's very impressive. Will Wade was fired for doing something that's legal now. He's a very smart, genius basketball mind, honestly. He's very young. He's going to get a big job. I can guarantee that, because what he's done at McNeese is incredible. McNeese is 22-1 in their last 23 games, and that includes a 20-point win over like UAB on the road. They beat Michigan on the road by double digits. Like, their last real loss, I would say, is Louisiana Tech, who is a pretty good team. So
Yep.
I feel confident in McNeese. They've been dominant in this conference. I would be shocked if they don't win. I think this is a layup, personally.
Yep. The Summit League, keeping it moving. I'm going to be honest, have not watched much Summit League ball. North Dakota State was fun last year, but then they had, I forget what his name was, but he transferred to Alabama. So have not
Grant
watched.
Nelson.
Yeah, Grant Nelson. So I have not watched any Summit League ball. I'm going to roll with South Dakota State just because they're at the top. And that's
Yeah, you know what's crazy, Cody, is
all
that
there is to it.
like Oral Roberts was the cream of the crop here for the past 2 years, right? They were 15 seed and almost made the Elite Eight, and then they were a 12 seed, and they had to play a hot Duke team. But this year, Oral Roberts is in last place in the conference. So all that does to me is show me how valuable Max Absmus is, and and just look out tournament, because Texas, people are sleeping on Texas. Just gonna say it. We'll talk about that more next week. But yes, as far as this year, I don't think South Dakota State has much competition. They just played North Dakota and North Dakota State and like all these teams, and they're winning. They're playing well down the stretch. It's got to be South Dakota State.
Yep. The Sun Belt. This is a very fun league, at least at the top. The Sun Belt has been an awesome story in college basketball this year. App State, I believe, won either outright or a share of the Sun Belt Championship regular season for the first time in school history. And James Madison has been absolutely outstanding as well. I hope that we get to see both of these teams play in the Sun Belt Championship. I think App State's going to win, but goddamn, is this gonna be a fun matchup?
I'm going JMU, and my fun fact here is that their strength of record is better than 9 out of the 10 teams that are like on the bubble right now, which is pretty crazy. So in reality, JMU is actually probably on the bubble, which a lot of people probably aren't considering them, but they could get in that large, which is nuts.
I would love to see a two-bid Sun Belt.
That would be awesome. That would be nuts. Again, JMU has a win at Michigan State. That not a lot of mid-major teams can say that. The only problem is when you're 20-0 in quad 4 games, you just didn't schedule hard enough non-conference. So I personally
Yeah.
don't think JMU has a chance. But you're 52 in the net. App State's right behind them, 69 in the net, and they have an Auburn win on their resume.
Yep.
So, but the next team after those two is Troy, who's 136 in the net, and 3-8 in quad 3, which is like just abysmal. So I think this is a 2-team race, and nobody else has a chance. So JMU App State, that's again appointment television whenever that championship is, which I think might be this Sunday, if I had to guess.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm going JMU,
because
if I didn't say that.
They kick off tomorrow. Last conference that we're going to go over today, the WCC. We just watched the 2 best teams in the WCC play this weekend. Gonzaga won that game, and I think Gonzaga is going to win the WCC. I mean, they've been damn good.
They're playing
as
so
of
well.
late. They beat Kentucky at Kentucky. They're rolling. They're rolling.
They're playing good basketball. It's tough because I had it kind of penciled in my brain that I was going to do something crazy in my bracket. And if Gonzaga was like an 11th seed, let's say, which they were looking like that just 2 weeks ago, if they were an 11th seed, I would have put them in my Final Four. I would have done it. I was going to do it.
Wow.
I was like ready to lock it in. But part of it was because you could have, you're an 11 seed, but then you have to play a 3 seed, which isn't that bad. If you're an 8 or 9, which is where I have Gonzaga right now, you'd have to play a 1 seed. And do I think Gonzaga, if they had to play UConn, we already saw that this year, they got smoked. They're playing a lot better right now. I don't think they beat UConn. I don't think they beat Purdue. I don't think they beat Houston. So it's tough. But do they beat St. Mary's and win this conference? My vote is absolutely yes, they do.
Love it. Love it. And that is the mid-major madness for now. Any of the conferences that we didn't get to today, we will touch on next week. Obviously, the focus is going to be, your Power 6 conferences, although I don't think we're going to have much discussion about the Pac-12.
Well, we'll go into, like we're going to do the A-10 and the American.
Yeah.
Which would make 8. And the Mountain West. So there's really 9 conferences that we're going to really lock in and focus on.
Yep.
We probably snubbed like 3. I think
we didn't talk about the SWAC, which
we
they
didn't
tip
talk
off
about
tonight.
The SWAC. We didn't talk about the Mid-Eastern with Norfolk State.
Yep.
And then there's another one. The Western Athletic, the Grand Canyon Conference, and I think Grand Canyon has that locked in. So
so nothing too crazy. We'll talk through them next week, but updating on the basketball picks. Obviously, I had a rough week 2 weeks ago. I bounced back 10-6 this week. Unfortunately, I made nothing up because you also went 10-6, Nick. Big brains.
Yep,
glad we bounced back here.
You were 6-2 in the front 8. I was 4-4, so you had a good lead. Choked it away on the back half. I'm a back half player, Cody. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I'm a back half player.
You're a weekend guy. I'm dialed in during the week.
The Tuesday games, I am on a cold streak. I'm going like 1-4. It seems like every time, and then just battling back, going like 9-1 down the stretch. It's pretty impressive. I they can write a movie about it almost, but. 10-6, another good comeback for me. I'm 87-57, which again, anything over 500 is pretty good because we're not putting any toss-ups or we're not putting any like lopsided games on the slate for our picks. We are putting strictly games that could very well go either way. So 87-57 is very good. 79-65 is also very good. Anything above 500 is good. So we are big brain right now. We're locked in at the right time. We'll see if that can continue this week. I'll be honest with you, Cody. I'm going bold this week. I'm up 8. I can afford it. It's the last week of the regular season. A lot of things need to happen for a lot of teams. I'm going bold. I'm just going to come out and say it. I might have more road teams winning than I do home teams. We'll see. I don't know.
I absolutely love that for you. And this is going to be an awesome week of college basketball. I mean, the games that we have on this slate, absolutely outstanding. Let's jump into it. Tuesday night, Florida, Alabama, a game that I don't know which way it could go because Florida plays damn good. Even on the road, they've been pretty solid this year. Who do you have in this one?
I'm going Alabama in this one. I think Alabama needs it more. You lose at home to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They might have lost earlier in the week as well. They might be on a little streak here. I think they just at home. Alabama plays a lot better at home than they do on the road. Mm-hmm. According to your super adjusted efficiency ranking. So I have to go Alabama here. I don't think Florida is really confident in their ability to close out games. We saw it. They should have beat Alabama already this year. They couldn't close it out. They lost in overtime. So just for right now, I think I'm going Alabama. But again, I'm bad at Tuesday games. So.
Yep. I'm going to go Alabama as well. They've been feeling good. Not really a whole lot to say other than that. Purdue at Illinois. Illinois, I think, has just completely given up on the concept of playing defense. I think they've just completely given up on the concept of playing defense. And you're going to have to try to defend Zach Edey somehow. I don't know how Illinois is going to do it. So can they outpace Purdue? Maybe. But I don't have them outpacing Purdue. So give me the Boilermakers. I think this is a big time. Zach Edey had his career high against Illinois last year. I think he might put up similar numbers again on Tuesday.
This is the second time they're playing this year. Purdue won by 5 at Purdue. I think Illinois, you're right in the sense that they're not caring as much defensively. They're they have the Kentucky disease right now. Where they
caught that Kentucky.
They caught the disease. I don't know how it spread all the way up to Illinois, but I think they have so much confidence offensively right now, which is warranted, to be fair. When you have Domask and Terrence Shannon, who can both put up 40 points, really, it's nuts. The best 1-2 punch, I think, in college basketball. When you have those two guys and shooters around you that are coming into their own, like a Luke Goody, Justin Harmon's playing better as that point guard that they don't really have. I don't think Purdue really ever presses. If Illinois is going to ever worry me, it's going to be against the press. And I think they can actually, they can switch everything. I think they can actually guard Edey okay with Quincy Guerrier down low. So I'm going Illinois with a decent bit of confidence on this one at home.
Yeah. I will say this. I'm taking the over. I don't know what it is. I'm taking the over.
It's going to be really high, so I don't know. I'll probably stay away if it's over 160. Whoops.
Yep. Nevada at Boise State. Nick just deleted our entire board.
Wait, hold on.
And replaced it with the fucking Catamounts logo.
With the Vermont logo. That's on me.
Yep. Nevada at Boise State. I'm super excited for this game. The Mountain West has been nothing but outstanding basketball all year long. This is a late night tip-off, Tuesday night. I'm going to go with Nevada on the road. Yeah. I don't know why, because the Mountain West has been, you should just pick the home team every time, pretty much all year. But I'm going to go with Nevada on the road because fuck it, we ball and it's March.
I'm honestly, we're in agreement because I have the same reasoning. I do think these two teams are playing the best out of anyone in the Mountain West right now. And I honestly think that with Nevada was an 11 seed 2 weeks ago, Boise State was probably a 10 seed. I think both of them have a case of being a 7 seed right now. So they're playing really good at the right time. But I like Nevada just for random reasons. Just the Mountain West is literally so chaotic. Last week, Nevada beat Colorado State on that buzzer beater.
Yep.
That alone has put Nevada in their electric category in my brain, where I'm not going to really be able to, ignore that when it comes to Selection Sunday and filling out my bracket.
I'm going to Wednesday, Villanova Seton Hall Nevada, which is coming out right now for the bubble. It's huge for the bubble. Both of these teams neck and neck in terms of Big East standings. Their records are pretty much identical. Villanova has a tough go of it this week. They have to go at Seton Hall, and then Saturday they get Creighton at home. I'm taking Seton.
It's funny, Cody. I honestly think that at this point in the season, when you're on the bubble, I would say that I'd
Yeah.
rather have Villanova's schedule than St. John's, who's playing Georgetown and DePaul. Even though that's a guaranteed 2 wins, what does that do for your resume? Villanova's looking at 2 games. If you win one, you're good. All you need to do is win one of them, in my opinion. And if you lose both, it's like a 2 quad 1 losses pretty much. So I actually think Villanova should be pretty happy to have.
I was going to, but I'm not actually. I'm going to take Villanova here.
Saying Seton Hall, I think, is who you're going with.
Seton Hall, their last 2 games, they lost by 21 to Creighton, and they lost by 30 to UConn. I don't think they're playing with a whole hell of a lot of confidence right now. So give me Villanova.
Yep. No. My thing is I trust Shaheen and the vets on that team, the Kadari Richmonds, Dre Davises, Alamir Dawes. I trust them at home to kind of pull out a win when they need one, because they know they might feel like they deserve to be in the tournament, but they at least know that they are on the bubble. And so they have to be going into this game thinking, we're at home against a team we know we can beat. Just do it. And I think they're going to be able to do it. So I am going Seton Hall, which is just going to make the bubble harder, if anything, because then it's like, what do you do with Villanova? What do you do with Seton Hall? They're probably both in the play-in game with St. John's and Providence. I don't know if you know this, Cody, but you're technically allowed to have 4 teams.
Just a Big East play-in tournament?
First 4. So I had no idea. I learned that from the Field of 68. You could. We could see 4 Big East teams in Dayton Tuesday, Wednesday, just straight up like a single conference. That would be
absolutely outstanding.
Which would be nuts. And I think it's very possible. Not 4.
A huge game for the Big Ten. Northwestern is all but solidified in the tournament. Yeah. Michigan State, I think Michigan State is in. However, you can't go 0 for 2 in your last 2. I can promise you that. And they are on a 3-game losing skid. They lost at home to Iowa. They lost at home to Ohio State. And then they lost at Mackey Arena to Purdue, which a quad 1 loss. But they get Northwestern at home. I don't have any confidence in this Michigan State team right now. And I know when I look at my calendar that it says March, I can't in good faith pick this Michigan State team. So I'm going with Northwestern this game. I feel disgusted. It feels gross, but I got to do it.
Yeah, this I actually think is closer to a bubble game than you might think. Mm-hmm. And I just in the sense that, you look at Michigan State, they have 12
They play
losses.
Indiana on Sunday.
So like you said, if they lose their next 2, which seems like that'd be far-fetched, on the road is tough though. But 17-14, to say that you're safely in at 17-14 would be a lie. To say you're safely in at 17-12 is already a stretch. To me, like Villanova 17-12, they have very similar resumes, in my opinion. I think they're both 10 seeds, very much on the bubble. Mm-hmm. And this is a must-win game for Michigan State. Must win. Northwestern is more safe than Michigan State, but Northwestern is not locked in either. So this is a very important game. That's why I kept it and took away some other games that, again, this slate is insane. We could have done 24 games this week. But with that being said, I am going Michigan State. I think this is very much must win.
And an SEC game that's going to be a lot of fun this weekend or this week.
Probably.
Tennessee at South Carolina. A game that, 6 months ago wouldn't have meant anything, but now it means a whole hell of a lot. South Carolina is second in the SEC right now, or tied for second with Alabama at 12-4. Absolutely insane what Lamont Paris has done. Who do you have?
Yep.
I didn't know. Yeah.
The adjustment. Did you watch the Florida game from Saturday? It was noon. I know you didn't get to watch much, but that one was early, and Florida was dominant for 30 minutes. Lamont Paris timeout makes this like 3 adjustments on the fly, pretty much, and they all immediately worked to the best of their potential of working. And South Carolina went on a massive run and won the game. And it was like, okay, this is extremely impressive. I get it. Lamont Paris deserves all the praise in the world. And the thing is, they beat Tennessee already this year on the road. So if they win this game, they'll be arguably maybe tied. Yeah, they would be tied with Tennessee in the standings, but would have the tiebreaker. So we could see South Carolina, if they win against Tennessee at home, as the 1 seed in the SEC tournament.
I'm going with Tennessee.
That would be insane.
They're really fucking good. And they're also, like, Tennessee's schedule, we talked about it last week. Like, the end of it is absolutely brutal. Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky to end it for, top 25 teams. And they beat Auburn and they beat Alabama, and they're just cruising right along. So it's 4 straight quad. I agree 100%. If they go 4-0, the 1 seed is locked in. It's locked in. They're getting a 1. They already might be on the 1 line, but it's tricky because UNC beat Tennessee outright, so it's tricky. But we're both going Tennessee. That they were projected to finish last.
It would be a really cool storyline to see South Carolina finish first in the conference.
Absolutely.
When they were projected
the Big 12 has been outstanding all year. Iowa State in second place in that conference. BYU is 9-7 in the Big 12 as well. A absolutely phenomenal year for the Cougars, 21-8. I truly think the Big 12 has been one of the more fun leagues this year, and I think we all kind of expected that coming into it. But BYU at Iowa State, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah. What we just saw what BYU can do on the road. Before they beat Kansas on the road, we were saying BYU at home is a different breed. On the road, can't really trust them. Now, I think maybe we can trust them.
Mm-mm.
And Iowa State, I don't think Iowa State's playing bad at all right now, but they were playing at a very, very high level for a pocket in this season in Big 12 play. And I think that has sort of died down a little bit, beating, like they scored 60 and beat UCF by 8. They only scored 58 against Oklahoma. Like, their defense has been great, but you kind of have to play a different style of defense against BYU because they space the floor so well. And I just don't think Iowa State, not that they're playing bad, but they're not playing as well. So I think this could be an upset potential.
Yep, and I'm rolling with the Cyclones here, 17-0 at home.
This is where I'm going to start getting crazy on you.
That is the only stat that I'm going to use because they have not been playing well, but they're undefeated at home.
That is that's a good stat to kind of just shove me to the dirt.
They're due.
I
love
no counter. Besides,
all right, jumping to the last game of the Wednesday slate. UConn at Marquette, 2 of the top teams in the country. These Tyler Kolek, is he going to play? That is the only question I have because he didn't play this weekend.
I don't know. I didn't know that he was even hurt against Creighton with him and Iguodaro.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't play against Creighton. What a devastating disaster that would be to lose 2 of your guys when you're playing Creighton and UConn. Like, massive implications because if you lose those games, it's not like they're a 2-seed lock right now. So it would be really nice to get this one. But we both are going UConn. And I'm going to guess, Cody, I think it's just because we saw
just Googled it.
What it looks like when they played.
According to Marquette, I'm seeing this on The Athletic, ESPN, the Milwaukee Journal. Tyler Kolek is going to miss at least the next 2 games. He is done for the regular season. So big loss.
What? All right. Pretty brutal. They didn't play bad without him, but he's a big difference maker. Cody, I know you texted me last week, and maybe there's some truth to what you texted, but there were rumors floating around that Tyler Kolek failed.
I don't think that's the case, but that'd just be an insane story.
And yeah, if that was someone tweeted that as a joke, and then it came out to be true.
Oh shit!
That's I quit media. I quit media. I'm no longer. I no longer have any idea what's going on because that would be nuts.
No great games
yeah,
Thursday or Friday. Moving on to Saturday,
free,
Memphis at FAU to kind of end the American season. This is a game that should be a lot of fun. FAU, I mean, they're not going to have the 1 seed in that conference tournament. It's going to be South Florida. Dusty Mays, I think they aren't playing their best ball as they head into March, and they need to get to that point. So I have FAU winning this game, riding the ship a little bit, but this is a huge game for seeding.
It is. I think the American is wide open. And if I'm being honest, I think Memphis is the team that I'm going to bet on to win this conference tournament. I think they're playing the best ball out of anyone. It's hard because USF's playing so well. But out of teams that I think could actually do some things in March, if Memphis were to get the AQ or somehow sneak in as an at-large, they're playing really well. Their defense looks better. They put up 106 on UAB. Their three-headed monster, which is Quinterly, David Jones, and Naquan Tomlin. I think they all scored 30.
Yeah, they all scored 25.
It's not something you see often. They all scored 25. Last Sunday, Memphis beat FAU. Memphis crushed Charlotte. It's basically these last 4 games as a pocket. Memphis is playing good ball. So I think they're going to go into FAU, win this game, and take that momentum and win the AAC and maybe even get up to a 10 or 11 seed based on a jump in the net.
Yeah, they're definitely a fun roster for sure.
Pretty cool.
Creighton at Villanova.
I do like this Memphis roster a lot.
I'm riding with Creighton in this one. I took Villanova to win that game against Seton Hall. I don't think they go 2-0 in this stretch. So I think Creighton gets them here. And you don't think Creighton goes 0-2 in this stretch. You're taking Villanova.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're flip-flopping here, right? Because I went with Seton Hall.
Yeah, it's definitely
went with the home team.
Worked out for
and
me
you went
before.
With the road team, which, bold strategy for you. Hasn't paid off that well. It's not necessarily a fruitful strategy in your history, but it's not that I feel confident in Villanova beating Creighton at home. It's just what it comes down to. It if they do lose to Seton Hall, they're now in that situation of win and you're in, and they get to play a quad 1 team at home. Just a massive opportunity. So Kyle Neptune is the type of coach to lose that game. Please understand, audience, that it would make sense.
Fair.
So much sense if he lost that
Kansas
game.
at Houston.
But I don't have the balls to take it. So I'm
Kansas at Houston. This is I cannot believe you're picking this game this way. I cannot believe you're picking this game this way. Why?
I know. I knew it. I was waiting for that.
This is absolutely your craziest pick out of all of them. In my mind.
I told you, I warned you that I'm going crazy, and I am. This is blasphemous. I am taking Kansas. Let me explain myself, okay? Houston played Kansas earlier this year, and it is probably the worst I've seen Houston play this year. They lost by 13, and what I noticed is that Kansas kind of, with McCullough healthy, has the recipe to beat Houston. One, because I think Hunter Dickinson down low is crafty and mature enough to avoid the wingspan problem that Houston gives you with your guys with 8'5" wingspans down low. They're not great defenders on ball against bigs. Juwan Roberts is okay. They're more so just recovery bigs that are fantastic paint defenders, but not on ball. So I think it's very dangerous in that sense. Also, when you have a guard that is mature and savvy like DeJuan Harris, that is the recipe, because you can't blitz DeJuan Harris, right? That line of scrimmage is set, and DeJuan Harris is shifty and small enough to kind of get around it and make that NBA level pass to the corner that Houston's leaving wide open to your Johnny Furphy, who scored 17 and had a bunch of big threes in the first time they played. For me, if Houston's playing lights out right now, I think I would honestly like to see them hiccup, right? Like have a game where they struggle, just humble themselves so that they can go into the tournament and go win it all. Because I do think Houston is my team to win it all, but they need to be battle tested. So I have Kansas winning this game. Yeah. I do truly think. And the public, Cody, the public is going to be all over Houston. All over Houston. Everyone's saying Kansas is done, toast, bad. Do I think I'm crazy?
I don't hate that at all.
But the
I'm
logic
going with
is
Houston.
there. The logic is there. Hopefully I convinced some of you guys.
The Kentucky at Tennessee.
That makes sense. It does.
This should be an awesome game. An awesome game. I mean, this is appointment television. This is get to your TV. The scoring in this game is going to be so much fun to watch. I'm taking Tennessee. I think they end the season strong. I think they absolutely solidify the one line. Am I crazy? Or
I do not think you're crazy. I think they're playing fantastic. What was great for me, Cody, is that Connect did not have that good of a game. And I actually had his over 21 points, and he finished with 13. And I was like, God damn it, Dalton. Because, you know, I mean, he normally it's like he needs to score 35, 39, whatever it is for Tennessee to kind of win these tough road games. But no, he didn't need to. He scored 13. You still beat Alabama because of the rest of your roster. So if the rest of your roster is going to step up like that, I think Tennessee is, you could argue, you know, maybe the best team in college basketball if they're going to be playing like that. So with that being said, they get to play at home against Kentucky. I think Tennessee's defense is versatile enough to maybe limit Kentucky. I don't think Kentucky's
they held
Dalton
in Connect game. To 16 in their last
and for
meeting.
That, I'm going to go with Tennessee.
They've defended him well before, but they did let Zakai Ziegler and Josiah Jordan-James go off for 26 apiece.
Kentucky?
So,
okay.
You giveth and you taketh away.
Yeah, I think 16's not low enough.
11-point game, like, 103-92.
I don't think that game was that close, right?
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I remember watching it. Like, Connect just didn't need him in that one. You know, on the road there. So 16's not bad either. But 4 more games here. This one's big, Cody. I'll do a little intro here. But Clemson going into Wake Forest. Something for the listeners here is that this is the time of the year where really, if you're on the road, but you already have a good road record or enough road wins, the punishment you get for losing road games is a lot less, right? If you have a bad road record, that's when it's like, oh God, you need to win some road games. But Clemson has probably the 2 best road wins you could have. Like as a combo, right? It's you go into Alabama and UNC; those are 2 quad 1A road wins. So I don't think Clemson needs to win this game, and Wake Forest is desperate to win this game. They're undefeated at home; they play fantastic at home. But the problem is, like, is Wake Forest with their 2 road wins all year and no more opportunities? Are they like? This is kind of like a sub question here, where we're not talking about the game. But I want to hear your thoughts. If Wake Forest wins these next 2 at home and finish undefeated at home,
but it's legitimately insane. They're 18-11. They're 15-0 at home, which means they are 3-11 outside of Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Yeah,
that's absurd. That's absurd.
Yeah, and yeah. It's crazy. It's bad. There are some other teams kind of like that, but again, they're not in the tournament, right? Like, this is the thing: is Wake Forest fans are screaming, we deserve to be in because look, we're 20 or 30th in the net and 25th in KenPom. You don't have any road wins. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to make it, this Clemson game, which would be quad 1, I believe, even at home, is so massive. And for that reason, to get back on track, I'm going to go with Wake Forest against my Tigers, even though I think it's a big game for Clemson too, because if they lose that, there's a real chance they're a 6th seed.
I get the sentiment. Wake Forest has been awesome at home. I just think this Clemson team is better, and I think the Cinderella might have fallen off the foot with Wake Forest a little bit. Virginia Tech smacked them. Virginia Tech smacked them this weekend. And Notre Dame beat them at home. So, yeah, I feel better about
your team
Clemson than I do about Wake Forest right now. Wake Forest's 2 road wins are against Georgia Tech and Boston College.
Yeah, Boston College is their best road win, according to the net. That's just pitiful.
Yeah.
Because you get 10 chances in ACC play to get road wins.
Yep.
10. You can only win 2 of them.
It's tough.
In the ACC. And you're a tournament team?
Yep.
I don't know.
Keeping it moving to the Battle of Tobacco Road, North Carolina at Duke.
It pains me.
The Cameron Crazies. I'm going with Duke. I mean, that's North Carolina. Did North Carolina win the first matchup? Yeah.
They did at home. It wasn't really that close,
right.
Ever. But Duke was not Duke yet. Remember, a week after that game, I was like,
they just won by 15 on the road.
Something, they're awake. And now,
yeah, I mean, they beat Virginia by 30. They beat Louisville by 30.
They won by 15 on the road.
I think Duke
they're
is
Duke now,
outside of going at Wake Forest. They beat Miami by 30. I think this Duke team is rolling. So
Duke is playing like 1 seed level basketball right now. Shout out John Shire. My faith is back in you.
Yeah.
My faith is back in that team. I think they could go very far. They were on my fraud list for a long time, but I have Duke winning this game. I honestly think they're playing better than North Carolina.
When a whole team comes together after like a horrific accident like that, when something so traumatic happens, the brotherhood got together. Jay Billis rallied the troops.
We thought we lost him. Yeah. Did you see that, Cody? He windmill dunked against
having his knee explode
just 4 days after tearing his ACL.
Crazy.
Yeah, after he almost got his leg amputated.
What an absolute legend. Wisconsin at Purdue. Wisconsin is playing like dog shit. I don't understand how anybody can pick Wisconsin to win this game at all. There's no way any human being in their right mind should pick Wisconsin on the road against one of the best 3 teams in the country. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
All right, let me just change my pick real quick. Hold on. I'm going Purdue. I agree with you, Cody. No chance. No, but in reality, it's not even a consideration. I'm going Purdue at home. If it was at Wisconsin, maybe you could think about a public play where it's just you fade Vegas because everyone's Wisconsin's the worst team in college basketball. So, and they're not their efficiency ratings aren't, nosediving down. It's not whoa, they just started playing awful. They're just playing worse and losing every game they play, but not that much worse. So it's we could see
last game on the slate is Iowa, Illinois, and this game is interesting. It's at Iowa. Iowa's got a lot to play for. I mean, I think they're on the bubble. I don't think they're on the right side of the bubble, but they're on the bubble. They also only have 1 game this week. This is it. They're done. They don't play a weekday game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'm rolling with Illinois, but I don't feel great about this at all. I truly don't.
I just changed this like 3 times in my head in the past 10 seconds, but I'm going Illinois. This is a
I mean,
game
their
that
last
could be
matchup was
120 to
95 to
115
85.
the way Illinois is playing and the way Iowa does play.
Yep.
And that's before this the disease spread to Illinois. But when it comes down to it, it's like Peyton Sanford's great, but Coleman Hawkins I trust defensively against him a little bit. And then it's just who does Iowa have that can stop Illinois from scoring? Straight up, like as much as I would want to pick Iowa because they are on the bubble and this would be a massive win for them. Can't do it. Illinois they match up too well.
So an outstanding week of college basketball. We will do a conference championship preview as we head into next week. Make sure you guys like and subscribe so you don't miss that video. Nick, we'll have to talk a little combine and NFL draft stuff at some point. We'll sprinkle that in there because we have had some NFL news come out over the last couple of days, but the focus is March.
Oh, yeah.
We do need to do a mock draft, but the focus is March.
I got to do my mock draft. The focus is March.
Yep.
And you got to keep your priorities
I don't know if
straight.
you follow Cole Adams on Twitter. He does he's a college basketball YouTube guy. Absolute. Yes. Yeah. He did the Rothstein cookie tweet. He also tweeted.
Did he tweet the Rothstein
that he's
tweet?
Locked in locked in March. Delete your Twitter or Tinder and Bumble. We're not having sex in March. We're watching basketball. So we're absolutely dialed in. Delete the apps. Get dialed in. No. Use promo code Nick15 for 15% off at home field. Get your college merch. And we will see you in the next one. Peace.